All right, everyone, in today's video, we're going to take a look at N64, a visual compendium from Bitmap Books. What's up, everyone? We've got our hands on another book from Bitmap Books here. We're going to take a look and see exactly what we got here in a moment. But what I do want to focus on right now is I ordered this directly from Bitmap Books. They're located in the United Kingdom, and we got this in less than a week. I think that's pretty outstanding considering how far away they are. And I wanted to touch a little bit upon the quality of, the overall experience that you get from buying their products. Now, the book itself is very well made and done. I know that. I know that the way that they do everything is great. But if we just focus on the packaging itself, I mean, look, they've got this custom-made cardboard box here with graphics printed on top of it. They don't have to do this. And, this goes into the consistency of quality that this company has with everything they do. It's amazing, really, because most companies would never do this. They would just have a standard cardboard box made with no printing on it, and then because you're going to open this up and throw this away, so most companies wouldn't care. But these guys pay the extra money to a vendor to do all these special graphics and everything on here for them, so that whenever the user purchases this, they get to experience this unboxing of a very nice detailed box. And this is 100% recyclable, which is great because, again, these are going to be thrown away. So hopefully if you do purchase one of these, you recycle the cardboard. But again, I just think the consistency of the quality overall that you get whenever you deal with these guys is great. So enough talking, let's open this up and see exactly what we got. So again, guys, you see what I'm talking about here. Not only is the box very well done, look, we've got foam inserts in the inside to protect the book to make sure it doesn't get damaged during shipment. Let's cover up the corners. And then we've got a very fine, wax paper covering the book itself up to make sure it doesn't get damaged. Very well done. They've even got their own custom stickers here. All right, you guys, so as you can see, we've got the unofficial N64 Visual Compendium. Let's take this plastic off and see what this thing's like inside. All right, so here's the outside of the book. Similar to the Atari compendium that we got, you've got this holographic front cover here, and whenever you move the book up and down, you can see where those images change a little bit. We've got multiple things here. We've got Charizard, Doom, Ness, Mario, Kirby, etc. here. And the N64 for me is really a special system. I remember getting this when it came out, and I quickly fell in love with the console. There's a number of really good games for this console, and a lot of people were transitioning over to the PlayStation and Xbox. And I had an original PlayStation and an Xbox, and those were okay. No issues there. They've got a lot of good games for it. But for me, the N64 really holds a special place for me. And, Ocarina of Time, I think that's one, if not the greatest, definitely one of the greatest Zelda games. I do like the new Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But the Ocarina of Time is great. Majora's Mask. As far as racing games, although I like Mario Kart a lot, I really like Diddy Kong Racing. I thought that was a great game. It's got a kind of an adventure mode that goes in with the racing itself, where you've got these boss battles and different things, and you're going to these different areas on the island, which I think really separates it from other kart racing games. I really wish they would do a true sequel to that game. I know there's one supposedly out there it's not that great. I wish they'd really make a true sequel to Diddy Kong Racing for the Nintendo Switch and do it right. I think that'd be an awesome game to have. But Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Mario 64, you name it, GoldenEye, Duke Nukem. I really like Duke Nukem for the Nintendo 64 multiplayer mode. I think that was awesome, being able to step on your opponents. It was really cool whenever you would shrink them down. Yeah, there's just a ton of memories that I have with this console. I can remember playing Turok for it when it came out, and my brothers had this surround sound system set up in their home, and we hooked up Turok, and we had this big TV with a surround sound set up, and it was just really neat for the time. And you know, it's something where you really can't explain it to a younger generation, because you took this big leap from 2D to 3D graphics, and the multiplayer mode on this console for so many games is great. But again, really like the Nintendo 64, which is really why I was excited to get this book and just take a look through it. So outside here, this is the slipcase. Very nicely done. Again, I mean, these guys, as far as quality goes, I don't think you're going to get any better on these books. This is a slipcase. Here's the book itself. Similar to the Atari, you've got this paper outer sleeve, and then you've got the book itself inside. All right, let's read what the back of this says before we jump into the book itself. The end of the 16-bit gaming era left Nintendo in a position of strength that would be the envy of any game maker. The SNES, or Super Famicom, if you lived in Japan, was an inaugural hit, selling countless consoles and games all over the world. With the dawn of 3D, however, Nintendo would be challenged by new competitors, new technologies, and a changing landscape that would define the company's course for decades to follow. First released in 1996, the Nintendo 64 became home to a slew of revolutionary classics that are still influential today. At the same time, questionable decisions behind the scenes and unfortunate hardware constraints would leave Nintendo struggling in ways it had never experienced before. N64, a Visual Compendium, is a chronicle of this turbulent era in Nintendo's history. With developer interviews and in-depth features, this book provides a unique look at Nintendo's place in the cutthroat gaming market of the late 1990s. In its pages, you will also find pictorial profiles digging into 150 of the Nintendo 64's most important and most interesting game releases. It doesn't matter if you grew up on Super Mario 64, GoldenEye 007, or The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, this book will help you look back on the best that Nintendo 64 had to offer. And again, this is by bitmapbooks.com, and you can get one of these from www.bitmapbooks.com. I'll put a link in the description for this in case you're interested. But these guys really know what they're doing. All right, now let's open this thing up and take a little closer look at what we got here. Here we go. I mean, this is one of my favorite games for the console, Diddy Kong Racing, right here on top. All right, so as you open up the book, we've got this little overview of what the book has. So let's read through this so that we really get an idea of what we're getting ourselves in for with this book. The unofficial N64, a Visual Compendium. The Nintendo 64 was not a perfect game system. Nintendo's choice to stick with cartridges at a time when inexpensive CDs offering massive storage space were becoming the norm drove countless developers, including several longtime Nintendo allies, into the arms of its competitors. Prominent and anticipated game projects took years to complete, resulting in long stretches when gamers were left without any big releases to play. At the end of the N64's lifespan, Nintendo found itself holding the second place position in a video game marketplace that it had rebuilt more than a decade prior. At the same time, the Nintendo 64 remains one of the most important and revolutionary gaming systems ever made. Originally released in June 1996, the N64's worldwide library contained nearly 400 titles by the time the machine was discontinued in 2002. Graphics in 3D, in their infancy at the dawn of the console generation, were pushed firmly forward by Nintendo and its partners during the N64 era. Mechanics and concepts pioneered by the N64's catalog redefined how games were played, leading right up to today. If you've ever enjoyed a 3D platformer, you owe a round of gratitude to the got it on their first try perfection of Super Mario 64. Open world RPGs, third-person action games, first-person shooters, multiplayer games, Grand Theft Auto, all of these and more owe a debt to the Nintendo 64 and its developers, many of whom were working with concepts and ideas that had never been attempted before. From its analog stick and gamepad to its headfirst leap into polygonal graphics, the Nintendo 64 played host to countless industry firsts. This compendium also comes with features exploring the Nintendo 64's development, the hardware and its peripherals, and more besides. These include in-depth looks at the Nintendo 64 controller, the Nintendo 64 disk drive, and some of the Nintendo 64's most famous canceled games. You'll find also interviews with key developers who were there on the ground floor to see it all happen, and you won't even need an expansion pack to enjoy it all. The gamers who got their first taste of 3D at a department store Nintendo 64 demo kiosk, the friends who spent weekends bonding over slappers only matches in GoldenEye 007, the now grown-up children who got their first taste of adventure in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Nintendo 64, a Visual Compendium, has been created for all of these. We're excited for you to join us on this journey through the trials and triumphs of Nintendo's first dedicated 3D console. Bitmap Books. All right, well, that was quite the introduction, you guys. Now let's take a look and see what all we've got here. Contributors, these are persons who had helped to contribute information in one way or the other to help make this book. We've got our table of contents, which includes a ton of different video games. One here that they're going into more detail about. We've got the 64 DD games. This is the disk drive games. Interviews, features. We've got a foreword here. So this is the background, the actual story of the Nintendo 64. So here's a breakdown of all the components and everything within the Nintendo 64, and it's pretty neat. If you can see, they've got little characters here battling it out and doing different things on the different components within inside the Nintendo 64. That's pretty neat. Super Mario 64. I can recall seeing this game when it came out for the first time and just being so amazed by how Mario looked in this 3D world, running around the map, around the castle. And whenever he turns into metal, wow, I mean, that was, again, it's hard to explain how that looked and what kind of an impression that had at the time because of what we were used to going from 2D games to these 3D style games, especially when you were used to seeing Mario in a 2D game. It just really opened everyone's eyes as to what could be done with these platforming games and games in general. But yeah, what a game, Super Mario 64. By far, definitely one of the greatest games ever made. Pilot Wings 64, I remember playing this game. I was never real crazy about it, but I remember this coming out. Cruisin' USA, anybody who's ever went to the arcades or played any driving games back in the day, I'm sure would be familiar with Cruisin' and Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World, and I can remember playing this for the 64 when it came out. Mario Kart 64, definitely revolutionary as far as kart racer games go. This is definitely one of the best games for the console. Great game. Again, I prefer Diddy Kong Racing more, but it doesn't mean that I don't like this. I think this is a great game. I think it's a little different than Diddy Kong Racing. GoldenEye 007. Wow, what a game. I can remember not only playing through and beating this game, but getting the cheats and the hacks so you can do the different things with different characters, and playing against my friends when they would visit or I would go to their house, you name it, and us playing GoldenEye with the different characters on multiplayer mode. This is an awesome game, and just all the little areas where you can hide in the different levels in multiplayer mode and knowing where they were at and being able to get to them quicker than your friends. This was a great game. All right, here we are, Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Again, this is a great game. I can just remember spending so many hours on this with my brothers playing this when this came out, and man, this is a cool game. Here we go, Diddy Kong Racing. I mean, this In my opinion, this is an awesome game, and I really wish they would make a true follow-up to this game for the newer Nintendo Switch. I just think it would be an awesome game. I mean, you've got flying, hovercrafts, cars, or karts rather, on the different racing stages, boss battles, all kinds of stuff with this game. It really stands apart, in my opinion, as far as kart racers, and everything was done really well. The control and everything is really good on this game, which Rare did a great job on all these Nintendo 64 games, in my opinion, and this is no exception. And you can see here there's interviews with Kevin in regards to some of the different information about this game and others. Each one of these games has more specific information about them. Extreme G, man, I can remember, I never owned the game, but I can remember renting it a number of times because I just really loved how fast the screen and everything moved whenever you would be playing this game. At the time anyways, it just seemed like everything was flying by. And playing this with friends was just really cool with the way the screen would move and you would get these different weapons and everything. Very cool game, Extreme G. Here we go, Duke Nukem 64. And I really like the Duke Nukem franchise. I think it's a cool game. You know, he's this kind of loudmouth guy. He's got an attitude, but he's going around killing these aliens and monsters and everything. And he's got these really cool weapons. This is a very fun game for the console. Very good multiplayer mode, in my opinion. And overall, good game. Banjo-Kazooie. Talk about a good platformer. I mean, I think this is right up there with Super Mario 64. And I don't know that it's worse or better, you know, one way or the other than that game. I think it's different. The way you do things in this game is a little different, and it's what really makes this shine apart from Mario 64, not having the exact same type of game. Although they are both 3D platforming games, it's unique. It's got its own little style, its quirks and everything, and I think it's a very good platforming game. Again, Rare did a great job with another one of these Nintendo 64 games. And here we go. I mean, this is definitely one of the greatest adventure games, in my opinion, of all time. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I think not until Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom has there been, at least for me, a Zelda game that comes close to this one. And I just got so many memories with this, you know, because of playing it when it came out. But man, this is such a great game. There's so much to do. Again, if you've never played the newer Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and you like this, definitely you need to check those out because those are also very, very well-made games. But man, this is a good game. Super Smash Bros. I know there's a ton of people out there that love this game, including Eli and Russ. They like playing this a lot. I was never really into this game that much. It's okay. I don't know, for whatever reason, I've never liked it that much, but I know there's a ton of people that really like Super Smash Bros. And, you know, this was a way for, again, a multiplayer battle game that was unique at the time, something different that people hadn't seen before. Here we've got a little note about the fantastic colors for the console. You know, I just had the regular one when it came out, the black one, but I can really appreciate the different variations of these that they had in these different color combinations. I think it's pretty cool. Mario Golf. I can remember spending tons of hours with this game and my brothers and some of their friends and and some of my friends playing this over and over again. This is a really good golf game. The newer Mario Golf for the Switch is also very good, but this is a good game. If you like golf games, you never played this particular one, I highly recommend Mario Golf. Here's a little information in regards to the expansion pack module. I'm sure anyone that was around back then knew that, you know, there was some games that you had to have this thing for. And, you know, I think at the time a lot of people just wanted to buy it to say they had it, even though there wasn't very many games that really it made a difference on. But just to have this neat little red looking thing you plug into the console was a neat idea. Definitely a good marketing from Nintendo to get people to want to buy this instead of just adding the extra memory into the console itself from the get-go. So neat little marketing idea. But yeah, I can remember getting one of these things when it came out and just thinking that, oh man, this is such a great option. And, you know, looking back, not quite as important as what I had thought at the time, but definitely a neat little add-on to this console. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. I can remember playing this a ton with my friends, you know, just being these little army guys and you're shooting each other. It was a very unique idea at the time. I'm sure anyone growing up back then had some type of little Army Men characters that they played with, and then the fact that they made this game of it really, it took it to another, I guess, dimension, if you will, going from having these little figures to being able to use them in these games, and the different characters had different abilities, obviously different guns and whatnot. Very unique game. I really enjoyed this, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. Here's some information about Mario Party 2. There's some other information about Mario Party throughout this book as well. Anyone that's played these consoles, I'm sure, has played Mario Party games. Very fun for families, friends to get around and play some of these. I think this game series has been one of the bigger hits for Nintendo overall, the Mario Party series, and just because, you know, you get a lot of these younger kids that really want to play with their family, and everybody being able to gather around and play this together, it's very good. So here's some information about the 64DD, the disk drive system that they came out for this. Here's some information about the Rumble Pack for the controller to make it shake. And here we got The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This is a pretty neat Zelda game. I prefer Ocarina of Time, but this is a neat game. It's got this creepy moon, different things you have to do. It's definitely a game worth playing if you've got the 64 or you're wanting to experience some 64 games. I would definitely check out this game. Here's some information about the controller pack, which was a memory card that you could plug into the back of the controller for the Nintendo 64. Banjo-Tooie, that's the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie. This game's okay. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but it's definitely a game worth playing. If you liked the original and you never got to experience this, I would check it out. Here's one of my favorite games for the console, Conker's Bad Fur Day. This game is hilarious. Not only is it an actual good platforming game, it's just hilarious. It's more of an adult theme. And, you know, this is one of the playable characters on Diddy Kong Racing as well. And I don't know. If you've never played this game, it's definitely worth checking out. It's very funny. The controls and everything work well. It's a good platforming game. And again, another good, well-made game for the 64 by Rare. I mean, they were really doing a great job on these 64 games. Here's some information about canceled cartridges for the console. Like this example here is Robotech, Crystal Dreams. Well, there you have it, you guys. The unofficial N64, a Visual Compendium from Bitmap Books. Another great job by them in putting all this information together. There's a lot of good content, not only from the images, but the text as well, to be able to, you know, read through everything and learn more about some of the games that you love, maybe games that you don't know about, as well as information specifically about the console, developers, and different things. So I think they did a great job on this one again. Bitmapbooks.com. All right, everyone, you just seen us open up and go through the N64 Visual Compendium from bitmapbooks.com. Now, just like the other book that we bought for the Atari, these guys really know what they're doing. Everything is done top-notch, from the packaging to the shipping to the actual book itself. It's all very well done. I'm very impressed with the overall quality of the book binding itself, the slipcover, everything inside, from the images to all the text, everything that's been put together from the interviews and everything done to make this book. It's really incredible. I'm very surprised by the quality and that the price that you pay for these books. It's a really good value. If you're a fan of any kind of video game console, gaming history, especially in this case, the N64, if you've got any interest at all with that console, I mean, this goes through a ton of different games for the console itself, some of the adders, the controller, the Rumble Pack, expansion pack, disk drive, you name it. It goes over everything in good detail. Really gives you a good understanding of the N64 and the games. For me, this console means a lot. I really enjoyed it when it originally came out. I like a lot of the games for the console. I spent a lot of time playing them with my brothers, with my friends. You know, we would have people come over and we would just hang out and play these games for hours. And going through this for me was really a glimpse back at that time and the fun that I had of playing these games. And that's what games should be about.
is being able to relax, take your mind off everything, and just enjoy and get kind of like a book. You know, you just kind of get absorbed within that environment and just take your mind off of the day-to-day life and focus on something a little different. And this book really does a good job of that, because you can go through, you can look at a ton of different games. Maybe you know the games, maybe you don't. And this will go into a little bit more detail of some games that maybe you're interested in, but you never tried. I think this is a good purchase, whether or not you want it for yourself, or if you want to get something for somebody that you know either likes video games or is a fan of Nintendo or the Nintendo 64. They're going to love this thing. So thanks for tuning into the video, you guys. We really appreciate it. Until next time, keep gaming.